Welcome to Ralf on VAR, where we review football's biggest calls.
Ralf on VAR, where football's biggest moment goes under review. It's been a while since we dropped a full video here on YouTube, but if you've been following our channel, you realize that we've been dropping bangers when it comes to shots. Once again, if you are new to this channel, kindly like, subscribe, hit the subscribe button down there, follow us so you become privileged to be the first one to see our content whenever it drops. Also, make sure you share our content so that other football or soccer lovers can also enjoy it. So on this episode of Raf on VAR, we are going to talk about our top four predictions. Let me say my top four predictions for the Premier League in the 2026 and the 2027 upcoming season. I'll also touch on some teams that I think that may get booted out of the Premier League this season, that is the relegation teams. And then we'll also delve into the community show that is coming up this weekend. So stay tuned. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and put us on post notification. Okay, so personally, there has been some preseason games that have been going on since the start of the summer. And I personally, as a football fan, I do not take preseason game results so seriously because I think that it's just a breeding grounds or it's just an opportunity for coaches to try the materials that they have, the players that they have signed, just trying to make sure the players get accustomed to their styles, especially for coaches that are coming to the team for the first time. For instance, if you take Chelsea, who have signed a new manager in the person of Xabi Alonso, and other teams like Manchester City, who have signed the former Chelsea manager Enzo Maresca. All these coaches are only using their preseason games just to acclimatize to the atmosphere of the team and also make sure that the players get their philosophy when it comes to coaching. So there have been some results here and there. Some teams, for me personally, my team Chelsea, if you are to concentrate on the result, you say that then we haven't had a very good preseason, even though we still have one game still to go at the Stamford Bridge. But I don't particularly concentrate on the preseason games because some of these games are just to help the players to instill their philosophy and their tactics into the players. So the preseason is still going on. If you follow some of the shots that I have dropped here, it's just banter. Yes, me laughing at Arsenal losing 3-1 to one of the La Liga sides is just banter. I know if it was a proper game, let's say it was in the Champions League, I know that Arsenal wouldn't be sitting for that team to whip them by 3 goals to 1. So it's just pure banter. And if you know me, I like to banter Arsenal a lot because, yes, why not? I am a Chelsea fan. Okay, so let's look at. I'm going to delve into my top four for the upcoming season. I'm going to look at the teams that are going to make the top four. That is my prediction based on what I have seen, some of the players that they have signed, and some of the players that they let go this summer, and also some of the teams that may probably get putted out of the Premier League season. And I'm going to begin with the relegation. So when it comes to the relegation, these are teams that at the end of the season they might not make it and will be returning back to the championship. And for the relegation, I have three teams picked up. For the 18th spot, I think Sunderland may not live to see the Premier League in the next 2 seasons. So Sunderland last season, yes, they came from the Championship and they were the dark horses. No one thought they could even make it in the Premier League. We all were thinking that maybe they might get booted out of the Premier League, but they have experience here and there. The likes of Granit Xhaka, who was their captain, and even in the summer there was a tug of war between Sunderland and Chelsea. Chelsea wanted him, but Sunderland were not ready to let him go. So they had the materials and their coach to, even though it was his first time coaching in the Premier League, he was able to put his philosophy on board and make sure the team did qualify for Europe next season. And the reason why I think that Sunderland are going to struggle and may get relegated next season is simply because of their participation in Europe. They have a very good and a decent team. But when it comes to playing in Europe and then playing in the Premier League, playing in the domestic cups like the FA Cup, like the Championship, sometimes it can become a very daunting task. And Sunderland, I don't think they have the team in depth. They don't have um, the players that will be replacing the first team players that will be playing in the Premier League and then in Europe as well. So henceforth, it's going to be a very difficult task for them. And as a result of that, other teams will take advantage of that, playing in Europe midweek, playing in the Premier League, playing in domestic cups. The players are going to really get tired, and I see them being kicked out of the Premier League in the coming season. So I'm going to place Sunderland on the 18th spot when it comes to the Premier League in the relegation zone next season. And the next team is Ipswich. Ipswich Town, they are also returning back from the championship after they made it 2 seasons ago and then went back that same season. So this is a team that I just note them as one of the teams that just come. They don't really make the purchases. And the last time they were in the Premier League, when they got relegated, they sold most of their players, like the likes of Delap to Chelsea, Hutchison to one of the Premier League side, I think Nottingham Forest. So it's also going to be very difficult for them. I think that their place is in the Championship, and they may not survive the Premier League this coming season. And the last team that I think is going to get relegated is Hull City. Yes, Hull City to that kind of team that are always in the Premier League and out, in the Premier League and out. And I don't see any different story being written this time around. I see them returning back to the Championship because when you look at their summer transfers so far this season, I have not seen them make so many changes. They've not really brought in new players. It's looking like just the players that they had from last season are the ones that are returning back from the Championship to play for them in the Premier League. And in the Premier League, if you don't make purchases, if you don't bring in new players that are experienced in the Premier League, it's going to be very difficult for you. So Sunderland, Ipswich Town, and then Hull City are my three favorites when it comes to relegation for the 2026-2027 Premier League season. Now let's go to the top four. The top four, yes, we are looking at the four teams that are going to automatically qualify for Europe. But now, yes, when you come to England, it's now in the top five teams, and because of some coefficients, even the sixth team might even make it. So for the top four, I'm going to begin from the bottom this time around. Aston Villa, I'm going to put Aston Villa at number 4 for my top four next season. So Aston Villa has made some ins. They have signed in some players, the likes of Johan Mazambi from Freiburg. Yes, he's a very good guy from the Bundesliga. They have also signed João Gomez from Wolves. If you watch Wolves last season, even though they were struggling and they eventually got relegated, he was one of their main marksmen in the Wolves team, and he's going to be a very good addition for Aston Villa. They have also signed Alejandro Garnacho on loan from Chelsea. Yeah, the Chelsea winger is now going to be operating from the wings of the Aston Villa team. And Aston Villa is a team that already has experience when it comes to playing in the Champions League because they have already won a title in the Champions League before. And just last season, we can all um, we can all attest to the fact that they won the Europa League with Unai Emery. And Unai Emery, we all know, is a manager who is very good when it comes to the Europa League. So I don't think it's going to be very difficult for them balancing the schedule between playing in the Premier League and then um, in the domestic cups and then in Europe as well. Yes, I think they have the players, even though they have sold some players, especially their main marksman for last season in Morgan Rogers to Chelsea. I still think they have what it takes to make the top four next season. And one of the main factors why I think that Aston Villa has what it takes to be in the top four for next season is simply because of their manager Unai Emery. He has shown time from time to time that he is the manager that if you give him the time, if you give him the materials, he can provide for you. Even with the materials that he has with Aston Villa, he has been able to win the Europa League for them. So I still think though that even though they'll be playing in different competitions, Europe, Premier League, and then the domestic cups, they have what it takes to at least make the top four next season. Coming in the third spot for me is going to be Manchester City. Yes, Manchester City Enzo Maresca's Manchester City. So this is going to be a new Manchester City. This is going to be a new Manchester City, which is going to be run by Enzo Maresca. So Enzo Maresca, the former Chelsea manager, left the Chelsea job and now has joined Manchester City. And we all know Manchester City to be one of the good teams in the Premier League when you look at the past 10 seasons. But that was under a different manager in the person of Pep Guardiola. Now Pep Guardiola is not in the helm affairs. It's not in the helm of affairs. They have lost some players like the likes of Bernardo Silva. They have lost. They have also lost Mano Akanji, their defender. They have also lost Nathan Ake, was joined Fenerbahce. John Stones recently signed for Inter Milan, as well as Simpson Pussy has also left the club to FC Cologne. For incomings, they have Elliot Anderson, the English midfielder, for £106 million. That's so much. They have also signed P.S. Charles, who I don't know much of, and then Jeremy Monga from Manchester City. Sorry, from Leicester City. So these are their ins and these are their outs. And Enzo Maresca is a very good manager with Chelsea. We could see his handprint on the team. He's a manager that likes to invent with his fullbacks, and I see him replicating that system at Chelsea. As I speak, as I am recording at this moment, the deadline for Manchester City to sign Enzo Fernandez has ended. So it doesn't seem like Enzo Maresca is going to have Enzo Fernandez in his team. And since Enzo Fernandez is someone he has already worked with, I believe he wanted to work with him once again and then probably take Manchester City to the next level, looking at where Pep Guardiola left Manchester City. But it's looking like he's going to do it with the midfielders he has. He still has, mind you, he still has Rodri Castanque in his team. He has now signed Elliot Anderson. He still has Matteo Kovacic. So he still has some experience in the midfield in there. But the reason why I'm placing Manchester City on the third spot when it comes to the top four is because Enzo Maresca is coming in new, and even though he has coached in the Premier League before, it's going to take some time for him to acclimatize with these players, the likes of um, Erling Haaland, the likes of um, the Manchester City players. The names are not coming off head. So yes, it's going to take some time for him. Though these players are players that have proven be, beyond their capabilities that they are very good. When you take someone like Erling Haaland, when you take someone like um, Yoski Vardiol and all those guys, they have proven beyond every reasonable doubt that when given the opportunity, they can provide, or they can put in the result for Manchester City. So it's simply because Manchester City now coming in with a new manager. If it was Pep Guardiola still at the helm of affairs, I would have placed Manchester City a spot higher than where they are now. But looking at Enzo Maresca coming in with his new philosophy, which is going to be quite difficult for the boys to understand, even though they are professional and experienced players. It's going to take them some time. Maybe in the next 2 or 3 seasons, we should see Manchester City challenging for the Premier League title once again. But coming in for Enzo Maresca, being a new team for him, I think that is going to be quite difficult. So I'm going to put Manchester City in the third spot. And coming in second, I know people are going to be like, why are you going to put Manchester City with a coach that has coached in the Premier League before, and then rather than in the third spot and putting Chelsea? So that tells you what I am putting in the second spot. So in the second spot of my top four for next season, I'm putting in Chelsea and being led by Xabi Alonso. And yes, my biasness might be coming into this, but aside the biasness, I think that this is a manager that has seen it all. He has coached in the Bundesliga in Germany. He has won the Bundesliga against Bayern Munich that were the favorite. A Bayern Munich team that was being coached by, was it Tuchel or it was Company? I think it was Tuchel. Yes, a Bayern Munich team that was being coached by Thomas Tuchel, a very good coach who has won the Champions League, who has won the French league and all that. So if you have Xabi Alonso, who was given the materials that he was given at Bayern Leverkusen, and be able to win the Bundesliga unbeaten. That is has never been said of when it comes to the Bundesliga. He went through the whole season without being beaten. It was only in Europe where he lost in the finals of the Europa League to um, the team that he eventually lost to. So I think that Xabi Alonso, as a manager himself, he's someone that has played in the Premier League. He has all the experience, he has all the aura around him, and you should expect the best from him as a manager. Looking at the materials that he has been given in Chelsea, you can definitely tell that he should be able to provide. He's a manager that also likes to play with his wingers. He normally, when you look at his previous seasons at Bayern Leverkusen, he used to play the three-back system. So that's why when you look at the signings that he has made so far, you talk about Pep Chavera, you talk about Palestra, and he already has Jarrell Hato, who is very good when it comes to playing on the wings. There's already Rich James, who has already played in this back three system before under Thomas Tuchel. So these are players that are very good. I have watched the preseason already. I said that preseason is all not about results, but we want to look at how the players are playing. And when I look at how some of these players have played under um, Xabi Alonso, I can confidently tell you that Chelsea should make the top four. We can't challenge for the title simply because whoever I'm going to put in the top spot that I'm going to mention later, yes, they have gained years of experience. They have won it before. So their manager has been there. So it's going to be very difficult for Xabi Alonso to come in and then just win. We have seen this before in the past with Chelsea, with Italian managers when Carlo Ancelotti first came in and then he won the league in his first season in the 2009 and then the 2010 season. But that was a different Chelsea because Roman Abramovich was just buying the experienced players for Carlo Ancelotti. The same Chelsea under Antonio Conte also came in, and in his first season he won. So Antonio Conte also came in, and then he was being given the best materials. There was the likes of Golo Kante in that season, the best player in Leicester City that had won the league just a season before. There was the likes of Diego Costa, who was a beast up front. There was the likes of even John Terry. I think that was his last season with Chelsea. So yes, when you look at all these factors, I don't think that Xabi Alonso, even though he has been given the players that he wanted, all the players that he's been asking for, and even some of the players are still staying. So, as I said earlier on, as I am recording right now, the deadline that was given to Manchester City to sign Enzo Fernandez has ended. So, which means that Enzo Fernandez is still going to stay in Chelsea. So, we are expecting a midfield duo of Enzo Fernandez and then Moises Caicedo. So Chelsea still has a very good team, a very solid team, and these two have played in the past. And when you follow the preseason as well, you look at a player like um, Romeo Lavia, who is very much injury prone, but in the preseason there was one of the games he was able to play 90 minutes. That's so solid against a team like AC Milan. So Chelsea still has, even though last season they placed 10th, but I think that their lack of involvement in the Premier League, sorry, their lack of involvement in Europe is what is going to propel them to at least come in the second spot. But for the lack of experience for some of these players, like the likes of Pep Chavera, um, the likes of Palestra, they are new to the Premier League. So even though they are good technically, you can see from their ball play that they are good because they don't have the experience of playing in the Premier League. And that's something that can tell whenever you are playing in the Premier League. They don't have the experience of playing in the Premier League. And that's a factor that will probably um, sway them away from winning the Premier League. So I put Chelsea in the second spot for the top four next season. And in the first position, if you have been listening from beginning to now, maybe you may have an idea, and that is Arsenal. Yes, Arsenal, the team that I always banter against, but I think that they do have what it takes to win the Premier League in the coming season. Looking at some of the player transfers that they have made in this summer, they have signed Bruno Guimaraes, who I think is going to be one of the best signings they have made so far this season. I mean, this summer, because when you look at the past season, it got to a point where Martin Zubimendi got tired, and even Lewis Kelly had to be coming in. When you look at the tail end of the season last season, Lewis Kelly had to be coming in because Zubimendi was so tired. And when you look at the way Arteta was playing his ball, they weren't possessing the ball so much. Yes, they weren't possessing the ball so much, so the players had to work harder. And the coming in of Bruno Guimaraes is going to, I think, that move them to the next level in terms of the midfield. When it comes to the team that got most points from set pieces, we all know is Arsenal. Chelsea have got a new set piece coach in McPhee, but Arsenal still, when you look at their preseason games, there is like they are trying to even improve upon the set pieces that they were scoring from most of last season. So most of the players are intact, with the exception of the sale of Leonardo Trossard, Christian Norgard, and then um, Jakub Kiwo. Um, with I think that with the exception of Leonardo Trossard, who was mostly a starter, most of the players that they have sold are not even players that really contributed so much, because they were most of them were bench warmers. But they have brought in someone like Bruno Guimaraes, who is very good when it comes to winning balls and then distributing balls in the midfield. So I think that him being paired with Declan Rice is going to be a very good thing for us now coming up next season. They have also signed the former Leeds United goalkeeper in Ian Misla. So Mesla is joining us now, and I think that's going to provide so much competition for their keeper David Raya. Yeah, David Raya. I think Kepa was not giving him so much competition, but this goalkeeper coming in from Leeds United, mind you, Leeds United may have been somewhere close to the relegation zone last season, but he's a very good keeper. His shot stopping um, his shot stopping statistics is very high. When it comes to also ball distribution, he's very good. So I think that he coming in is going to provide so much competition for David Raya. And all things being intact, Arsenal still have their team. There's still Gabriel, there's still Saliba, who is just injured for a few months, so he may miss, let's say, the first 2 months of the season, but he'll be returning back. There's still Saka, there's still Madueke, there's still Eze. All these guys are still there, so I don't see any reason why Arsenal shouldn't win the league. In fact, if Arsenal should not win this league, I'll be very surprised. Last season, I predicted them not to win the league. As a Chelsea fan, as usual, yes, I thought Chelsea was going to win. But this season, I'm predicting Arsenal to win the league, even though I'll be coming your way with banters. Yes, I'll be coming your way with banters. But I still think Arsenal has what it takes. They still have all the players. They still have Mikel Arteta in the helm of affairs. So nothing should stop them. So that's my top four for next season. Maybe it may change, but like maybe for instance, Man City may come in second, Chelsea may come in fourth, Aston Villa third. But for Arsenal, I still stand by what I'm saying, that they are going to be number one at the end of the 2026-2027 season. All right, so that is my prediction for the top four and then for the relegation for next season. Before we run out, I'm quickly going to talk about the community show that is coming up on Sunday. So before the Premier League kicks off, a week before, as Premier League fans, yes, we already know there's always that community show between the champions and then the FA Cup champions. And last season, we all know Arsenal to have won the Premier League, and then the FA Cup was won by Manchester City. So this is where we are going to see what both teams are going to provide for us. When you look at the head-to-head between the two teams last season, Arsenal never won even a single game against the. I think they played in 3 games. Yes, one was in the FA, one was in sorry the FA Cup final where Manchester City won, but that was a different Manchester City. Let's put that at the back of our minds. That was a different Manchester City. It was being coached by Pep Guardiola, and this time it's a Manchester City which is being coached by Enzo Maresca. So let's see what is going to happen in this game. But I am looking at this game and I'm looking at it as ending in a draw and probably going into shootouts, and that's where we are going to have our winner, because both teams wouldn't want to give out what they have, the surprises they have for us coming up next season, their tactics and everything so early. Even though there is a silverware on hand, they will want to keep things tidy. They want to keep things simple You don't want to get any injuries because it's not a Premier League proper that is starting. And I think that at the end of the 90 minutes, and if there's going to be extra time, I look at this game and I'm seeing a draw in this game. It could be a scoreless draw. It could be um, a both teams scoring but ending in a draw. But eventually, it's going to be decided by penalty shootout. And you know, when it comes to penalty shootouts, you can never predict. It can go anywhere. The best penalty shooters sometimes even miss. So um, that game is it's a double chance. It's anyone's. Whoever is ready for it, I think, is going to go for it. So that is it for the community shield coming up on Sunday. Okay, thank you so much for watching, for sticking and then watching the whole video. If you've been able to watch till this end, this is Ralph from VAR, where football's biggest moment goes under review. If you are new, kindly hit the subscribe button. Yes, as you can see, hit the subscribe button. Subscribe to the channel, follow us, share our content on the various social media platforms so we can grow the channel. And you know, once you subscribe, you become the first person to see our content whenever a video drops. Thank you for watching. Catch you on the next episode.